Democrats win on health care, environment, women's rights, respect for democracy. But on those issues, I bet you that are the big ones that they vote on more: crime, immigration, wars, economy, corruption. So that's the takeaway there.
The only thing the Democratic Party stands for today is opposition to Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And I just read Kamala Harris's new book, 107
No,
Days.
you didn't.
I did?
No.
So, Kamala Harris just dropped her latest literary masterpiece, an autobiography cleverly disguised as a post-election excuse manual. Spoiler alert, accountability didn't make the table of contents. Every page drips with selective memory, self-pity, and the kind of polished political prose that sounds profound, until you read it a second time.
When they ask who has a better plan, Republicans crushing it on crime, immigration, wars, the economy, even corruption. Democrats win by 2 points on respect for democracy. Now, some of this is just because people are f***ing stupid.
But then enters our anti-woke gladiator, Bill Maher, wielding his scalpel of sarcasm like a surgeon who doesn't bother with anesthesia. He cuts straight through Kamala excuses, exposing what he sees as her true self, a confused, detached, and hopelessly performative politician pretending to be a philosopher. Buckle up, this takedown about to sting.
Perpetuating victimhood, especially when it's false, is not a great advertisement for leadership. Kamala Harris's new memoir of the 24 election is called 107 Days, but it should have been called Everyone Sucks But Me. 107 Days is a victim's title because, get it, she only had 107 days to win. Yeah, and $1.5 billion, and a built-in army of about 75 million people who'd vote for any human-adjacent life form that wasn't Trump.
Bill Maher kicked things off by taking aim at Kamala Harris' book title, 107 Days. To him, the title itself was a masterclass in spin the ultimate woe is me narrative about not having enough time. But Maher wasn't buying it for a second. He reminded viewers that Harris had one of the biggest campaign war chests in modern history, a press corps that treated her like political royalty, and roughly 75 million voters ready to back anything with AD next to its name. So crying about only 107 days, that wasn't tragic, it was comedy gold. Maher said out loud what everyone else was thinking: Kamala had every advantage imaginable, and still managed to crash and burn in spectacular fashion.
In 107 days, nothing is ever Kamala's fault. Biden lets her down by not stepping down sooner. Pouty face emoji. Gavin Newsom, he was asked for his endorsement, but texted, "Hiking, we'll call back." But then never did. And then he didn't even ask her to prom. America itself lets Kamala down by not being ready for the running mate she really wanted, Pete Buttigieg. So she's stuck with the Home Depot paint salesman. And the rest is herstory. Poor Kamala. We made her the star of a rom-com and didn't even give her a gay best friend.
Kamala Harris didn't just write a book, she crafted a full-blown political telenovela. Within its pages, she boldly tosses her former boss, Joe Biden, under the campaign bus, insisting he didn't step aside soon enough for her to save democracy. She even slips in a few thinly veiled digs at his mental fog. So much for loyalty. But the drama doesn't stop there.
At America itself
Harris widens the blame circle, wagging her finger at America itself for not being ready for a female president. Why face reflection when deflection works so well? And just when you think the plot can't twist any further, she pins the fiasco on missing out on her dream running mate, Pete Buttigieg. Classic Kamala: when the mirror gets uncomfortable, she looks for a new scapegoat.
She widens the blame game.
Kamala writes that on election night, when it was clear she'd lost, an aide peeled the words "Madam President" off the cupcakes before handing them out. Oh, geez, that's like a scene from Bridget Jones Runs for President, for Christ's sake.
Kamala Harris didn't just write a book, she crafted a full-blown political telenovela. Within its pages, she boldly tosses her former boss, Joe Biden, under the campaign bus, insisting he didn't step aside soon enough for her to save democracy. She even slips in a few thinly veiled digs at his mental fog. So much for loyalty. But the drama doesn't stop there. Harris widens the blame circle, wagging her finger at America itself for not being ready for a female president. Why face reflection when deflection works so well, and just when you think the plot can't twist any further, she pins the fiasco on missing out on her dream running mate, Pete Buttigieg. Classic Kamala. When the mirror gets uncomfortable, she looks for a new scapegoat.
Look, ladies, I know this isn't fair, but we're all always running against the worst cliche of who people think we are. Women Democrats can't look oversensitive or preachy or unable to laugh at themselves. They also can't look silly, like Gretchen Whitmer did, trying to hide in the Oval Office. They have to look brave and strong.
This next part deserves a spot in the Comedy Hall of Fame. Kamala actually blames part of her downfall on, wait for it, one of her own aides, who supposedly sabotaged her campaign by peeling the president's stickers off cupcakes before handing them to voters. Yes, in her version of events, a frosting fiasco triggered the collapse of her presidential dreams. The twist: that aide only did it because, by then, it was painfully clear Kamala had already lost to Donald Trump. So congratulations, cupcakes have now made history as a symbol of political tragedy. Maher couldn't stop laughing at the absurdity. While the rest of the world saw a campaign in freefall, Kamala saw a confectionery conspiracy. You couldn't script that kind of delusion, but somehow she did.
It wasn't a good look for the woman party that all the guys were speaking out for Jimmy Kimmel when Trump went after him, except on the woman show, where for 5 days the outspoken hosts were suddenly as quiet as a geisha.
And if you're wondering why Bill Maher set his sights on The View, hear the backstory. They threw the first punch mocking his remarks after he dared to question why they'd suddenly gone silent during the Jimmy Kimmel controversy. But Maher being Maher, he wasn't about to take that lying down. He called out their so-called courage for what it was: pure performance, dressed up as principle. When Kimmel was suspended, rumors swirled that The View could be next on the chopping block. And just like that, the usually thunderous panel turned into a choir of crickets. No fiery takes, no righteous outrage, just carefully calculated quiet. Then, the moment word broke that Kimmel was coming back, poof, their voices returned, bold and polished as ever. Maher nailed it. The bravery only showed up once it was safe to be brave.
Then on the 5th day, they rose and said, "No one silences us. No one had to. You silenced yourself." Whoopi Goldberg continued, "Did you all really think we weren't going to talk about Jimmy Kimmel? No, I thought you would, but then you didn't." 5 days? Talk about needing extra time to get ready. And if you can't take a breath and laugh at that, you're making my point for me.
Sunny Hostin, Whoopi Goldberg, and Ana Navarro have become the poster faces of selective courage: bold when it trendy, silent when it risky. These women built entire brands on outrage, swinging cancel culture like a hammer at anyone who dares to disagree. But the moment the spotlight turns on them, they transform into cautious diplomats, suddenly allergic to the same righteous fury they once glorified. They know exactly how vicious a cancellation can be. They've orchestrated plenty themselves, and now, in a twist of poetic irony, they tiptoed to avoid becoming the next target. A tragic comedy at its finest, the Justice Crusaders trembling before their own monster. And yet, hear the kicker: they still unleash that mob on others, day after day. Their hypocrisy isn't subtle or theatrical. Think Broadway-level performance, rehearsed, polished, and broadcast in high definition.
Some new polling came out, and this is really, I'm speaking to the Democrats especially here, because Trump's numbers are down. They're down with Latinos, they're down with blacks, they're down 15 points with whites. And when whites say, "You're not hip anymore," ooh. And yet, in the other poll, on issues, Trump still winning. So this is your big opportunity, Democrats. He's down in the numbers, and you still can't score.
The DNC still can't seem to find its footing, and the reasons read like the script of a slow-motion disaster. There's no real leader at the wheel, no voice strong enough to inspire confidence or guide the party through the storm. Instead, it's stuck adrift in its own echo chamber, still marching to the rhythm of the fringe woke left. It become a political terrarium where groupthink thrives and any hint of dissent is stamped out before it can spark change. Rather than confronting reality, the party clings to fantasy, mistaking hashtags for strategy. And to top off the dysfunction, Kamala Harris has started throwing her own party under the bus. Instead of taking responsibility for one of the most spectacular political implosions in modern DNC history, she's busy conducting the blame symphony and rewriting her own narrative. It's chaos pretending to be leadership, and the Democrats are the ones paying the price.
Democrats win by 2 points on respect for democracy. Now, some of this is just because people are stupid. 2 points on respect for democracy. Democrats win on health care, environment, women's rights, respect for democracy. But on those issues, I bet you that are the big ones that they vote on more: crime, immigration, wars, economy, corruption.
When it comes to pure popularity, sure, Donald Trump numbers might be dipping a bit. But honestly, who's surprised? Keeping rockstar level momentum after a political comeback like his is like trying to sprint a marathon. Even Trump can't defy gravity forever. But hear the twist. While the polls may wobble, he's still dominating where it actually matters: the kitchen table issues that keep voters up at night. On the economy, he's still the guy many working Americans associate with lower prices and bigger paychecks. On the border, he's the one who actually sounds serious about fixing it. And on the global stage, his unapologetic America First message still hits home. So sure, Trump might not win a popularity contest over brunch, but when it comes to performance, he's still miles ahead of the pack.
Democrats win on health care, environment, women's rights, respect for democracy. But on those issues, I bet you that are the big ones that they vote on more: crime, immigration, wars, economy, corruption. So that's the takeaway there.
The only thing the Democratic Party stands for today is opposition to Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And I just read Kamala Harris's new book, 107
No,
Days.
you didn't.
I did?
No, you didn't.
I'd like to...
I'll say a lot of lies on this show, but I won't take that. I will not accept that.
Honestly, that become the Democratic Party's entire playbook, the never-ending Stop Trump tour. It's their brand, their pastime, their full-time job. They've wrung every last drop of political mileage out of the anti-Trump narrative, as if it's their only reason to exist. Sure, it worked when Biden rode it to victory once, but when Kamala tried to replay the same script, voters just tuned out. The country exhausted from years of nonstop Trump bashing and ready for something real: ideas, solutions, leadership. But when people looked to the DNC, all they saw was an empty stage and a fog machine. No clear economic vision, no border strategy, no direction, just recycled outrage and focus group slogans. The Democrats built their identity around despising one man, and now that the outrage has lost its spark, all that remains is the echo, hollow, leaderless, and disconnected from the very voters they claim to represent.
It's like a diary of what happened, but I was looking for, okay, and what's the plan for the future? There wasn't any, and she's just indicative of the party at large. And by the way, that's one of the reasons she lost.
She's rewriting history in the book, too. She's now against men and women's sports. Like, come on. Like, they tried to dismantle Title IX against women when she was vice president.
Right. I mean, that's just one of many examples.
She could have had 701 days and would have still lost that race.
But you're right. The data says it's cost of living, it's inflation, it's immigration, illegal immigration, right. All those things. Everything else is at the bottom.
And by the way,
law and order crime.
107 days, way too many for anybody, but including her.
Right.
But the more they got to know her, the less they liked her. I've said this many times on this show. Other countries don't do this. They don't have years to run.
And Maher was spot on. The more Americans saw of Kamala Harris, the faster the shine wore off. And honestly, who could blame them? The Hollywood endorsements, the carefully staged photo ops, the forced attempts at relatability, it all reeked of political theater running on empty. Beneath the soft lighting and polished buzzwords, there was nothing but a haze of cliches wrapped around that nervous, glass-shattering laugh. When real questions came her way, she dodged, stumbled, or defaulted to the now infamous Kamala cackle. It didn't take long for voters to realize she wasn't built for the pressure or the policy. People were craving authenticity, a leader who felt real. Instead, they got a brand built on optics and overproduction. Maher didn't even need to take her down, she did that herself by proving there was nothing solid underneath the surface.
They They call an election, and they have an election in a month.
Yeah, ignore the influence of money. We should do that.
That's going to be hard to get rid of. They've tried. But, no, it's like you don't need 100 days. You need 107 days. You tell people your plan. This is what I am for. This is my thing. You're selling something. You're selling a vacuum cleaner. If I'm selling a vacuum cleaner, I'll tell you why I think it's best. Am I going to tell you every goddamn day for 2 years? Did I tell you about the attachment that gets under the... Yeah, you did. You told me 1,000 times.
In the end, Maher's takedown of Kamala Harris and the Democratic establishment was nothing short of a masterclass, cutting, unfiltered, and brutally accurate. The DNC is adrift, no real leader, no clear message, and no connection to the people they claim to represent. Between Kamala Olympic-level blame game, the View brand of performative courage, and the party's single-minded obsession with Trump, it's obvious the movement lost its soul somewhere between hashtags and hubris. Maher simply voiced what millions have been thinking: the Democrats aren't losing because of Trump, they're losing in spite of him. Until they abandon the cult of wokeness and rediscover the concept of accountability, they'll keep cranking out memoirs of defeat instead of stories of renewal. And that's a wrap for today's video. If you enjoyed this one, hit that like button, subscribe for more sharp commentary, and as always, thanks for watching. See you in the next one.